Hi, welcome to Art of Rock. Look, we're going to start in like 30 seconds. I just need to tell you about my day yesterday. Oh, look, it is the right button. Is that the right button? Ah, there you go. So I was watching Adam Savage do a kit bash yesterday, and he's got this tattoo on his inner wrist. And I always thought it was a, preservation of life tattoo, But as he was talking, he just got this thing, and he sat it on his wrist, and it's a ruler. It's a ruler that he can measure stuff for a tattoo. And apparently he's got like holes and angles and all sorts of stuff.
Nerd.
I know, right? Anyway, it's all about kit bashing. Welcome to the Art of Rock. First and foremost, today and every day, I want to thank the Tongva people for surviving and being fantastic in Los Angeles. And I recognize that my house and this fine city is on your land. So you rock and keep it going. This is Art of Rock every Saturday morning at this time, usually on Twitch. We're going to talk about music, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of other random crap as well, because that's what we do. This is made possible with ANGELSPIT'S Patreon. It can cost as little as $3 a month, and you help keep me going, and I'm very, very grateful for that. There is a new single out in ANGELSPIT land called The Planetoid. There, go watch it. It's good fun. It's Ice Planet 9000. New ANGELSPIT single drops in 9 days, and it's fucking brutal. I just did a track with Bet Noir from The Grim Life and Hack and Slash called Tree of Blood. There it is on the Spotify. Go check it out because it's fantastic. On the subject of Spotify, here are a whole bunch of bands, many of which are here, who have a whole bunch of really cool music. Boom. Go listen to it. And we need to help each other out and pimp that link so that you can learn more about bands. And if you want to learn more about bands like Hardcore Relentlessly, you need MTV TV. It is 24-hour. It is non-stop. If you have a video, send it to MTV TV and they will play it because they are amazing. There. Go. They also have a Patreon because we got to keep them going because it's cheap, effective, it's free, effective exposure for bands. And I'm telling you, the amount of bands that I have found on MTV TV is fantastic. And when we're done here, we're all going to hang back in the Zoom and chat, probably about kit bashing. And you are going to raid on over to MTV TV because it's the best. Wolf, Raven, welcome. Raz, what's your question?
The first one that comes to mind this week is, what are your techniques and habits, and what is the sort of profile of staying in the habit, the musical habit, skills, practice between major releases? Maybe like a little of what do you do to stay motivated, or do you completely drop out of it and maybe go and do something else?
What I usually do is fold my washing.
Represent. This is the Art of Rock.
It is. Or the Art of Frock. So, thank you. No, John, don't turn your camera.
Art of Suck.
Between...
Art of Suck was a home run.
Yeah, it was. And, of course, if you're in Boston, that's a red sock. And if
God
you're
damn
in
it.
Chicago, that's a white sock.
Fucking good, dude.
Go sports.
Between I am albums, I'm working on the next album, or I'm doing a remix or something like that. I should, to remain a good instrumentalist, you do scales and you practice, and I research audio a little bit, but it's not as much as I should. I research programming a little bit and research stuff a little bit. I should, do more. I like watching, is it Ken Hewitt, the dude who does Skinny Puppy? The very happy Canadian who makes very vicious music. Yeah, him. I enjoy watching him. He's very knowledgeable. But yeah, I need to learn. I'm going to throw the floor open. Does anybody else have anything they want to throw in? Because this is fantastic.
What's the topic sentence? I'm sorry, like throw in under the heading of like, but what specifically, like what I just want to get to the heart of it. Rezo, you're muted.
Between releases, what do you like to do that isn't music or is music to either further your music career or get away from it? Between major releases and the intense work that happens there. Try to be concise.
Oh, Ivan, hit me.
So I've had no major releases yet, so I'm, totally winging it here. But between songs, like, start, middle, finish, and then do other thing, like while I'm waiting to get motivated to do the next one. Scales, and more scales. I absolutely like keep practicing. Maybe chill out and do something that's not music for a little bit, just so that you've got fresh input. I'm about to pull the trigger on doing some fairly big upgrades to the wood shop downstairs, because some furniture I need to make and a whole lot of trim for the third floor studio that needs to be produced. And that's about as... I'd like to say it's not music, but I'm sure I'm going to end up recording stuff that I can then convert to music. So
that sounds fantastic. Vince, what you got?
Yeah, see, I've got one major release that I did like a bunch of years ago. It was the first thing I did, and I put so much work into it that I slowed down from there, and I haven't done a major release since. But in between releases in general, if you look at my Spotify profile and you look at when things were released, you'll see there's not more than like 2 or 3 singles in a year at this point. And it's because like life happens around making music. So I get busy doing other things. And it's not that I'm trying to get away from making music. I find that I don't have a reason to get away from it because it's hard enough to get to it. So it's... I come in, I practice my guitar stuff a little bit, and I mess with a few chord patterns on the keyboard and scales and things in between, but mostly I just handle life. Like, I mean, the last week I spent working on my car, so I haven't been in the studio at all since the show before last, actually, really, more than for like an hour or two in there. But when it's time to make music, it's time to make music. But it's finding the time that gets difficult when you have other responsibilities. So I don't know. It's carving out the time for the music and trying to get the rest of everything scheduled so that it works is difficult. Although I am working on trying to schedule things better, so I've got a release coming next year.
That's excellent.
Like, in 2023. So.
That's excellent that you keep pushing. Does anybody else want to drop in on that? Like, I mean, Brian, you're the man that is just the human machine of. Oh my God, Alex, welcome.
Ah, damn it! I wanted to see how that sentence ended. Fucking get out of jail free card.
That was it. Brian, what do you got?
I have found. Oh, Gafir is here. I have found a lot of. I get dinged for this, so this may not be for you, but people say like, "How do you put out so much stuff?" and then say, "Why do you do that?" in the same breath. So like, take that for what it's worth. But I have found a lot of success compartmentalizing projects emotionally. I do this band that I've been doing for 1,000 years called the Gothsicles, which is just me like yelling about like video games and animals and shit. And then like I did that for like forever, and then I was like, I can't be doing this anymore. I'm really excited. And then I started this other thing called Ghastly Invertebrate, which is just me basically trying to be God Module. And I was like, I did that, and I was like, oh, that came right out of me. It was like, it was like a shit, like a really big clean shit.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Doesn't hit the sides.
It was just like, it was like, I mean, this metaphor is going to have more legs than I wanted to, because it was like pre-formulated and like fucking ready to go. It's like it was the fastest thing I ever did. That first Gasoline album. And then what did that do? That made me excited to do the Gothicals again. So I came back and did Animal Songs, which is the biggest one I've done so far. In terms of other albums sell more because they've been out longer, but you know what I'm saying. Now I am kind of shitting on your point a little bit because I'm saying how do you take a break in between music? Never stop doing music, which is clearly not feasible. Like I did a couple weeks off to like do music adjacent things, like clean the space, you know, and like organize the keyboard so I can like get to them a little bit better. Like I'm not stepping away, but like I'm not putting it out on like an island, right? Because there is a cost to that. The end.
Is there coffee in that mug?
Affirmative.
All right, you're not going to spill it though.
I can't make that. Not anymore because I drank it all because I'm a maniac. But you are not inaccurate, my friend. I do have a problem.
Raz, hit me.
That actually leads right into my B part of that question, or second other question, and it's do you try to keep a thing separate from music that you can go to that is either re-energizing? And it sounds like, Brian, all evidence is that you are the kind of person who is energized by doing more music. And I think that some people may get drained by doing music in the same way we've got introvert and extrovert types of personalities in the rest of our lives. Does anybody want to add something about their skill hobby that they have to practice that doesn't feed into music and doesn't do anything for their career, but does something for their life? Or do you have the type of all-encompassing everything from photography to art to road trips feeds into the music?
This is a fantastic question. Alex, hit me.
I feel there's like making music and making music, because you can be jamming on your instrument or making a pattern just for yourself in your room, and then there's working on a track that you want to perform and show the world. And I feel like for me, suddenly if I want to give it like a higher meaning, it suddenly becomes a chore when it was fun previously. And I struggle a bit with this switch. One thing I did was just record my jams and then use them as sample fodder when I did proper release stuff, which I never finished, but anyway. Yeah, that's the best thing I've got. But I think there's different tiers of making music.
That sounds really brilliant, man. Thank you. John.
Hey, so I'm kind of the inverse. So in that music is my passion, but not my day job. It's like I do it for fun and for interest, and it's a hobby that I take very seriously and I work very hard at. But I also make a conscious effort of keeping it separate from what I do day to day. Some of it is because I don't have confidence in what I can do professionally, and also like I recognize that it can be all encompassing, and I'm not at a place in my life with family and other things going on that I can dedicate in that way. But the point that I'm trying to make here is not that like I don't, music is a hobby. The point is having something outside of what you do is incredibly healthy. Something that I tell the teams that I lead and enforce is, we work to live, not live to work. We need to have like something outside of that. If anything disrupts what you do primarily, what do you have to fall back on? Like if everything that you have is your music and suddenly you're in an accident and you lose your hearing or your vision, or something like that happens, or there's a court case and it's all encompassing, or a fire and you lose everything, what do you have to fall back on? What other aspects of your personality do you have? And so it's very important to have a core passion that you can, draw on that is separate from what you were doing all the time. So it, you know, for me, music is a passion, bicycles is another thing. You know, both of those, like you know, and both of those have groups of people and that support system and the conversations. So if something were to disrupt one of those, there's still kind of like a fallback of like, what else can we do?
That's brilliant, man. Thank you. Vince.
All right. I mean, it may seem strange for me to answer this one because I just got done saying like I've got plenty of other things going on, so it's not hard for me to get away from music. But I feel like the question is more about decompression when the music becomes stressful, and I get that because sometimes it does. And I don't know, for general de-stressing and getting away from things, I think gaming is an excellent option for that if you have the ability to do so or any kind of inclination in it, because it gives you instant gratification and raises dopamine levels. Like you can pick the kind of game you want to play, and you know, depending on what you're trying to do for yourself, you know, you can get out that latent aggression and still get the instant gratification from the rewards you get in game, kind of thing. So it feeds the ego a little bit, but it also lets you not be part of objective reality for a moment when you can actually really get into it. It helps my wife a lot, actually, in that respect, because I got her into playing Fortnite, and she like does it a lot now, and she's been a lot happier overall because she's got something to do with herself that she didn't have before. So it gave her something new, and it's always something new because games like that update frequently, so there's always things changing. So it also gives you a way that you're not necessarily likely to get real bored with real quick if you're playing the right things for yourself. Other than gaming, though, like, I mean, hobbies are good in general, but like, I don't know, I feel like it's more important sometimes to just focus on aspects of your life that aren't music, that are not necessarily things you're doing for enjoyment, but things you have to do, because then everything gets to inspiring music at that point, and it makes it easier to integrate parts of your life and still keep it compartmentalized a little bit. If you've got a decompression and, you know, your regular life stuff and your music stuff, and you can kind of balance it for yourself, like however it works for you. Like in my case, I should probably be doing more music stuff because I'm trying to get it to go somewhere a little bit. But I get busy. Life happens in the middle, so it doesn't always happen the way I want it to. But yeah, decompression, gaming. That's what I was saying. I rambled a lot. Sorry.
That was a good ramble. This is a rambling subject, so that's totally cool. Thank you, Vince. Ivan?
I'm with John. You know, like music is my hobby. Making music is my hobby. And I'm a software developer during the day, and you know, that used to be a hobby that I turned into a job. And now it sucks because now there's project managers and people making unreasonable requests and making bad design decisions and doing things that make it not fun anymore. So the goal with this is to always keep it fun, which good, but you know, at the same time, you still need to get away from. You can't just do, like, I can't do the same thing all the time. So you know, thanks to software, I got into fine woodworking by accident one day, and of course, you know, as soon as you start woodworking and you're into music, you know,
dude, that is a case. Look at that case.
It's all about making the next Eurorack case, and like that's just an ergonomics study that, you know, made with the cheap parts. But you know, like, it gives me something to do away from my desk while, you know, and standing while I'm doing it, and it's physical, it's active, it's, you know, and, you know, problem solving, and, you know, like really like all the same parts of your brain that you want to use while you're making music are the same parts that you're using when you're doing like, you know, when you're doing Japanese joinery. And, you know,
That's a woodworking term.
yes.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. Like I use chisels and hand saws, not, you know, power tools. You know, just because it's nice and meditative. You know, so like, you know, there's that, which is great. And then, you know, and then there's my cooking thing.
Wow. Look at
Really
you.
get into cooking food.
You are an international man of leisure. And you know, that's awesome. Thank you, man. So, I grow sorry, Ivan, were you done or did I just ballsack over you?
I think I've added everything.
Ballsacking over you is the wrong term. I
just showed this to everybody because I want to piss off synth punk.
That's fantastic. I love that so much. That's great. I grow plants, specifically spider plants. Brian, did I give you a spider plant?
I have some sunglasses I cherish from your Chicago apartment. But
I thought I gave you a spider plant.
I am spider plantless.
God damn it, man! Sorry,
I can have a radioactive spider bite some of my existing plants,
right?
And then we'll get there. But I have not gotten one from you.
The good thing about spider plants is that they multiply. They have little babies, and you grow the babies, and then you give the babies away to friends. And they're really easy to look after. It's like a cup of water once a week, and they're fine. If they had a bit of sunlight, they'd be wonderful. And they're very happy, very, very happy little things. Before we jumped on this morning, I was talking about kit bashing, because I've always had this secret thing about kit bashing. And it's something I would really love to do, is kit bashing. I like to listen, as far as like, you know, between albums and stuff and when I'm not making music, anything that involves not being on the internet. So going for walks, butter, walks in the rain, pina colada, etc.
Can you explain what kit bashing is?
So kit bashing is when you get an object and you make it look like a spaceship. So you have a mindset that's like 1976 Industrial Light and Magic, and your job is to using a bottle of shampoo and parts from other kits like 1920 Spitfire plane, something, I don't know. You stick it all on it and you make it look like a spaceship, then you paint it. And it's really, really good fun.
You're talking about like communally working on a model or something? I'm not. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
And what the like I have this crazy dream is I want to take a whole bunch of people out to just a weekend without phones where we just build spaceships. For me at least, that would be fun. But yeah, so the thing about these things is that they energize music for me. They energize the making the music thing, because music's a massive controlling source and outlet for so many things in my life. And it really is it's kind of like this filter in my life that it gets rid of bad things and it emphasizes good things for me anyway. I'm very blessed like that. I'm going to shut up now. Alex, I didn't even answer the question. Go.
It reminds me of something. I have a good friend, and she's a professional cellist, and what she does is she does knitting, because it's something where the stakes aren't high. She can just re-knit it if she made a mistake, and also it's like something where she doesn't have to think, because it's just so manual and automatic, so she just can do it mindlessly after a hard day, and it just fits in her life. And she also likes having the knit clothes, so.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I used to, it's funny that people who knit call themselves hookers, because you get the hook. Yeah, it's really good fun, knitting. I'm sorry, Raz, go.
I think we've been veering toward the mental health and well-being angle and therapy time. Here's an interesting let me set it up this way. If it's not obvious, tend to use all of the things that I do somehow as my identity in creative work. Like I don't have a way of getting away from it very successfully. And the creative moment, the process of getting something from nothing to something recorded, something from imagination or synthesizing influences into a fixed, let's say Ableton's session view, that's kind of easy. Like I get that, I'm there, I can do that for days. And then, and this is, I think, termed demoitis, I become very happy and satisfied with session view. It's just some loops and you can combine them and you've got these wonderful sounds and you've made this moment and great. I'm going to listen to that again tomorrow. Tomorrow it's the same thing. Listen to these loops. Listen to the way this one plays off that one. I hope I can capture that when I move to arrange view and make it into a song 3 months later, etc. So help or not.
This is really interesting. I guess it's just the way I work that I've got to go to song as soon as I can, and that's a really good thing about I think about using Cubase is that Cubase sort of forces you to make this into a song mode as quickly as possible.
Track.
Yeah.
The whole view.
Because the whole thing is a track all the time, and you're just looping that bar, and then you get that bar copy out, blah blah blah. So I think that you got to find a place where you go, okay, well, I'm just going to grab that thing and now I'm just going to drag it out. Okay, I want to see something. You know how? Why am I telling you this? You've been writing songs longer than I have.
We need to talk about it though.
Yeah.
From first principles there, absolutely.
It's one thought is, how can you make this as fun as possible? Like, how can you say, this bar, this loop, makes me feel something? What does it make you feel? Now let's sculpt some lyrics around that, the way it makes you feel. Is it a car chase? What is going on here? How does it make you feel? So the first thing that is happening is that if it's lyrics or sound design or anything, is coming off the emotional response of that song, because that's what music's all about, I think. So the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to maybe throw some words together, maybe come up with a chorus, and maybe do more sound design. And when you start slotting these things together, you have a song. It's like, I am yet to meet a vocalist who doesn't hate their voice. Like when you really question about them, they hate their voice. Everybody hates their voice. Everybody doesn't like the music they're making. You know, you're writing a joke. And the thing about a joke is the first time you hear it's funny, the second time it's like, yeah, third time. The thing about a song is that you're going to listen to it hundreds of times. So that joke is just going to go on and on and on and on and on. But you're not focusing on the actual payout of the job. You're focusing on all these little different parts of it. And when it comes together as a whole, the joke's told for the first time. You know, the song is heard for the first time. So you've got to just, really go in there and just focus it, man. This is the whole 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration thing, is that the journey between, oh, wow, man, that's cool, and here's a song, that journey sucks. It's painful. It sucks. And you need tenacity, and you need to keep going. And like, I've got a fucking paper thing. I've got lists everywhere that are telling me what to do and when to do them. And it's really hard. Oh, Brian, you're in twice. That's strange. I'm letting you in twice. Welcome twice, Brian. Woo!
Sorry, I just need to be a little bit mobile. Thank you.
That's right. It's just a very strange thing that you just got to push through it. That's it. That's all I got. John!
Cool. No, this is a cool subject and actually gets into an area, a question that I was going to raise towards the end, which was, it's getting towards the end of the year. What's your, it's like, how do you close off the year? How do you go through and clean up like all those bits and pieces and the shit laying around that you've created and generated, and kind of put a bow on it, make sure like it's properly archived and or at least accessible, or like and burning it down. But to get to the bigger point of like, how do you finish it? Like, one of the things I use is like is having a specific goal. Like, I can make sketches all the time, and have like those demos, those loops, and we'll speak specifically to Ableton because that's what that's the DAW that I use on a regular basis. And then and I revisit it and remix it and perform it, and that the art of performing is like what gets me to that session, gets me to the session view. Is like I take those individual pieces and I try to string it together in like 3 to 5 minute segments. But it's also like when you're creating it in a vacuum, as in like I just want this to sound good, it's like, yeah, but what's the point? Where's this going? Like, what is this in support of? Like, the best things that I do are in support of something. Like if I'm doing a soundtrack for a video game or a short film or something like that, or if I'm just using it, like Metropolis as of January 1st of next year is going to be public domain, like that would be a great thing to score. For example, like nobody needs to know that you scored it. Take some movie that exists today and just be like, I'm going to do my own version of it. Fuck it. But yeah, it's like I'm most creative when I'm doing that. And to make it fun, I did this last year and just frankly was doing other things and couldn't do it this year. But Novembeat, in which you make a song each day for the month of November. And they don't have to be perfect, but what it does build is that practice, the art of getting shit done, the art of knocking something out, having it good enough that like it's cohesive. It's not perfect, it's not polished, but you have a deadline. And one of the best ways to kind of like hit that deadline is like, do I want to spend 3-4 hours working on this? Is to go back and look at your sketches, to look at the things that are kind of like half finished. Just like, that was 30 seconds of something kind of cool. All right, let's get that to 4 minutes. Like, what is that going to take? Like, how, and having that, kind of like TikTok, really kind of like forces, indecision. And it's like, and it gets you away from that, like, I'm micro editing this thing. It's like, nope, this is going to be messy. This is not going to be perfect. Like, this is never going to be anything other than a demo. But it is like, maybe I'll go back and revisit it and build it up, because if you have 30 demos, maybe 5 to 10 of them are actually good, and like the rest of it is like, well, at least I tried. I got it done. Perfection is the enemy of done. Yeah, if you spend, if you want it perfect, like you're gonna churn forever. So that touches on having a goal, Ableton arrangement, digital archive, and the art of finishing. There, mic drop.
That was awesome. Thank you very much. There's points in there I want to pick up. But first, here's Ivan.
So, Ableton, session and clips. Raz, still here?
Yeah.
Okay. Go find a cheap, used push. The push one. They're cheap now. Nobody wants them anymore. They're great, and like there's nothing more awesome for like cycling through, what's gonna work. Then you just throw it on the push, and you can just, essentially do your arrangement with the push really fast. And record that to the arrangement view, by just hitting record, and you can go from lots of little ideas to this work. You can figure out what works and what doesn't work really quickly with that, and it's nice.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I'm out of words.
Dude, they were good words. Vince, give me your words. Vince, you're muted.
I guess if you're talking about like getting your things into your mix or arrangement session, that's the word I was looking for, and then trying to break it down and get it into a whole, like finish it and get into a whole song. Start with nothing but drums and a bass line. I don't know exactly how you go about things normally, but I start with drums always, almost always. And if you start with just drums and a bass line and then arrange that based on how you want your verses and choruses and your bridges and breakdowns, whatever to go, just do that much. And then instead of dealing with any instruments, go straight to lyrics and vocals. Because then you're forced to create the melody on your own, which will let you find something to support that melody easier afterwards, instead of trying to build a whole song and then write lyrics. Because then you don't have anything to follow. So you've got more creative options before you get that far. And if that doesn't work, you could always either send just your drum and bass track or go ahead and finish putting the rest of it. Maybe send it off to somebody else for lyrics and or vocals. Because there's there's the Sounds and Shadows has got people that girl I just did or woman I did a track with recently, Kimberly from Bow Over Down. She's always offering to do vocal collabs, and I'd been wanting to take advantage of that for a while. That worked out really well for me. It's worked out really well for me twice, actually, consulting someone else, just being like, hey, you want to jump in on this project with me? And I kind of threw it up there and left it open the first time and got whoever I got, and it worked out great. And then this last one's pretty good too. So like things come together really well sometimes when you ask somebody else. And if that's not necessarily what you want to do, maybe just change the order you do things in entirely. Instead of sticking to a formula, throw the formula out the window and see if that gives you a jump start on your process.
That's brilliant. Can somebody throw the link to Sounds and Shadows in the chat, and I'll throw it everywhere else, because Sounds and Shadows is a really good thing to have. Great site on Facebook. Raz, gimme.
So I'm staring at my phone for the past couple of minutes trying to find photographic evidence of I do want a push. I would love to have a push. I think a push is a beautifully designed instrument, but I did buy myself a Novation Launchpad a few years ago, and if anybody's not familiar with that, it's just the button grid that allows you to trigger and other things, pre-recorded clips or enter specific notes, play chords, melodies. It's a really cool tool. And I spent about a week with it, and I learned how to toggle the LED colors and drew a Space Invader. And then I sold it. It was kind of the wrong direction for me, and I want another. I want it back. I want to get another one. So, advice taken. Might not have the result that you were thinking, Ivan, but I'm there with you. And John, one of the interesting things that, I definitely spend a lot of time trying to regroom my stash of sketches, and the folder is called Sketches in my case for sure. And there's two things that come to mind. And the one is I definitely go through it, not on a temporal schedule, but on an accumulation schedule when I need to get a new hard drive because archival stuff is full, or, the hot on, ready to work on files on the local fast storage is getting full. That's the time when I really go through and look at what I've got. And another crying for help thing is inevitably I'll open up a song that I know is a finished song. It's maybe something that's even been released, and tucked in the end of it is another whole song. Like, oh, this is a great idea. What? That's been lost for 5 years and I completely forgot about it. So it's a bit of a gift. It's a bit of a curse, but deduplication in that way, or at least having Carl's actual pad of paper keeping track of where these things are and what exists. A trustworthy uniform system so that you know where stuff is. Unless you really are dedicated to being surprised by the little gems that you left in the, unmarked, unannotated, with no way to ever discover that they're there except to go through it. Seems like a bit of a counterproductive way, but That's what I'm finding myself up against.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So firstly, what I'm trying to do right now is this is the creative project management thing that I've shown around before. It's in the chat there, and now it's over here. Hold on, I'm just sending it to the world. Sending it to the world. I'm not sending it to the world because oh, I'm sorry. Give me a sec. Alex, do you wanna talk for a bit? I'm gonna go after you. I just fucked up.
So one of the ways to right that wrong would be to just start in arrangement view, and if you want to be more hardcore, maybe get a little digital Potter Studio used, and just record directly, and maybe have a drum machine play the beat. Yeah,
That's brilliant.
I think that's what I would do.
That is really good practice, just in general, to have that as one of the ways, for sure.
Hold on. So I'm just gonna put the thing in there. I hope, or have I just deleted every chat ever? So I just put this is a creative process management, which is this thing, creative project management, and you put the song title in there. And then you put all the parts that are involved in it, like arrangement, writing lyrics, demoing the vocals, recording guitar, whatever. And you put into there what percentage completed they are, and it'll tell you where the song is, all the way through to signing it off and mastering. And, download that, add some of your own things to it, perhaps. It's a really handy little thing. Going Burko over a track. Burko is an Australianism, by the way. Burko means to go wild, to go crazy, to cut sick, to go Burko over a track is really good practice. Just be uninhibited with the track playing in your headphones and yell over it, sing over it. Half an hour, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, you will be amazed at what comes out of it. Really, really good stuff comes out of it. There's another wonderful thing, which is Carl lost his train of thought. It's good, though. I don't really get into controllers and stuff. It's interesting. I've tried really hard, but it just doesn't gel with my brain. I've seen people do the most amazing stuff with controllers, but I've always wished that I could, but I couldn't really. When I was trying to DJ, I used a controller. I really prefer, the best setup I've ever had was an SH-101, Dr. Rhythm 220A, and that was it. And I would play the SH-101 with the little arpeggiator that was coming off the rim shot of the little Dr. Rhythm, and I wrote every song on that thing because I had beats, chordal movements, and rhythm. And everything just came together. And it's funny that I've always tried to refine the art of making that style, like that simplicity in music, like that real interaction, which is a really good thing about the blaster beam, is that you're there in the space. It's funny that having a modular and all of this stuff doesn't actually make it easier, because there's a whole bunch of fart-assing around. I really wish I had my old SH-101 and a crappy drum machine, and I had them in a corner over there, not connected, and a pair of headphones, and I just went boink, gonk, 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 because you get the best stuff. So yeah, go Burko. That's the rule of the day. Ivan.
So Raz, we could talk for hours about file management. For actually all of my projects these days are all stored in one big shared drive for everybody in the band, and we have like the projects are broken down into demo, working, as in we're actually like working on finishing it, and then finished, and like the whole project will move up each layer as it gets done, and then even the MP3s, for everybody else to listen to, do the same thing. So like whenever I posted a MP3 to here, it's a copy from there, from the demo directory to the shared directory that I share everything out with for other people. It makes finding things easier. Granted, like the left panel user section of my Ableton is a hot mess.
Cool. Thank you. Just before I throw to you, Raz, Brian, did you have your hand up before?
Yeah, but I forgot what I was gonna say.
All right.
Not that good.
Well, if I want to hear from your amazingness, so just throw your hand up and you're in. But for now, here's Razzie.
Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say too, but it's got to be on the topic of files and having a lot of stuff. I think part of the goal is to live long enough to have too much stuff to really keep track of and not worry about it so much. So it's okay. I'm not too worried about the fact that I discover things that I forgot about 15 years ago and still like. I mean, that's all right. But to put it on the record, I do have a little bit of a system, and there's melodic and chord ideas. If I'm sitting at the piano, it just goes on the voice memos, whatever I'm holding. It's easy to do. The guitar and voice get picked up. I'll la it with something, and there's a good 4 bars of something that may be useful someday. And those are reliably all just in voice memos. There's no other place that they go. And good, one place. Look for them there. Comb through it once in a while. Delete things if you hear it and it's just, I'm never going to use that. And those do move on to getting put into the computer, with the workstation, the DAW at large. They'll be in Ableton, and I'll replay the guitar and I'll figure out what I want to do with it, add the stuff, and those end up in a sketches hierarchy of some sort, and there'll be a folder, just sort by date, I guess. No real categorization, just sketches, and they're always trying to avoid any proprietary plugins or anything so that they're going to open without having to reinstall anything and nothing gets in the way. And then once it gets past sketches, it's usually inside a project specific, like album name, where I'm trying out an extra 20 songs. Not that this has happened more than a few times in my life, but saying the few times that it has happened, I've managed to keep this sort of technique. And then once it gets sorted down, some of those will end up in the songs not making the cut. And then there's 10, 12, things that are probably going to be songs, and those get developed, and, staying completely strict about that is elusive, and that's where I end up with other songs tucked into the ends of these songs because I'll be so focused on working on them. But it goes reasonably well. It's a system.
That's amazing. No, that's really cool. Thank you. Everything I do is on pen and paper, literally pen and paper. And it does not get to, sorry, I'm looking at some of the comments. Thank you, Wolf and Raven. I really appreciate this. My method is just part by part, riff by riff until the song comes out, for sure. I guess one lesson I have learned in songwriting is you don't, the idea has to be strong for the pen to hit the paper. It's got to be strong. So that's the first filter. The second filter is it's got to be strong for it to get onto Cubase and to be played on. I always use this plugin that's the worst sound you've ever heard in your whole life. Plip, 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 plip. Awful sound. It's got to work on that sound. If it doesn't work on that sound, it's out. Then if that works, I'll expand it out, because my problem was a hard drive full of ideas, and they were always called strange things like Pollux, Sun-Off, stuff like that. So I, and if I'm coming up with a strong idea once a month, that's a good month. Because I cannot, my brain just doesn't work as far as, there's so many song ideas, I can't deal with this. And then I go back and I listen to them, and it's like eating stale bread for me, that they're just not, there's this weird thing with use by dates on songs. Like, I've got 1 or 2 songs that were dragged up from the depths, but everything else was like, well, that's a representation of the notes that I was using at that period of my life. I've sort of moved on. So that's what I try and do. Yes, that's all I got. I could keep ranting on this or not. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go deal with a cat. And Rezi, I'm going to put the show is in your hands. Keep asking your questions, and if anybody else wants to throw something in, please do. I will be back in 3 minutes, maybe even 2.
Okay, I will bring things to a screeching halt and say, who has something that they're working on this week that's interesting to talk about? Any obstacles, any successes, any triumphs in the past since we last talked, or Brian, since the entire lifetime that we've never chatted? Ivan, was that a gesture of yes, or I think you're muted. Yes, you are. Ivan, you're still muted.
How about now?
That's sounds like you're not
Much
muted.
better, I'm sure.
Gold star.
Yeah, Korg released the Modwave VST this week, which the Modwave is cool. I've got the hardware. I thought, wow, I'll grab the VST because, you know, not having to carry the hardware around would be nice. It crashes in Ableton like as soon as you try to change patches.
That sounds like a problem.
It's probably a problem that'll disappear in a later release. And I'm fine with waiting. But that got me to plug my Modwave back in, and I've got this whole Modwave playing off the Take 5 thing that I'm working on. Does this nice, airy, droney goodness, and then converts again because both of the patches are very much, they have split personalities. So trying to figure out what I'm going to write with it because it sounds really cool. I need to move on and start laying down like notes.
Oh, that's not on topic or anything.
Yeah, I need to pick a key to work in.
I was watching some reason YouTube was surfacing Behringer synth videos, and
they did a big announcement for the Pro 800 this week.
It sounds good. Looks cool.
No, come April, I may be short $500.
It's the prices are right. Their form factors are kind of cool. I think they fit into Eurorack or 500.
No, they'll fit into it'll rack mount. And yeah, I think it's 3U, so I think Eurorack sized. And yeah, the 800 is it's a thing.
Yeah, it sounded good. I mean, and they build some stuff that's like, at least in the demos, I can't say I've ever touched one, look and sound just like a lot of fun, and the prices are right.
What are you talking about?
This is the Behringer clones of stuff. They're the Pro 800 or Prophet 800 or whatever the thing is that they released this week. And Wolf Raven confirms that YouTube's been algorithmically surfacing a lot of Behringer videos. So they're doing it right from that perspective too. Couching that with all the caveats that we need to do when talking about clones of synths and Behringer in general. Important to note that there could be reasons to just avoid them altogether.
Yes, there are many reasons to avoid Behringer altogether. Yeah, I always say, man, if you want to get cheap modular, get Dopefa. Because Dieter Dopefa is ethical, and he's a damn fine man. And they're good people. Alex!
To be fair, I think these old sequential ones are like, don't give me as much pain in the stomach as maybe cloned keystep or something, because I think sequential isn't likely to make one of these again. And I don't know, I think it would be better if Behringer would make original synthesizers, but I understand why they do it. So I think that's one of the better Behringers.
Cool. So, does anybody else want to talk about Anything else? Do we want to bring up another subject? Alex, hit me, baby.
So, since Brian is here, if he doesn't mind, I always wondered how he did, or maybe your band did the music video for Save That Mermaid. Because I always loved that. And it looks very professional.
Thanks. Well, it was a pretty complicated process. I paid a guy. No, he did like just this dude. He happened to be a fan, and I mean, like after the show, he's like, "Hey, I make commercials. I'm gonna make you a music video." I'm like, "All right, whatever." Guy I don't know in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and then he sent me an email and like, "Oh, okay." He's like legit. Like he just did like commercials for Mentos and shit, and he quoted me a very reasonable price, and that was luck of the draw because it turned out great. And then he's since kind of turned into a big shot, so far as I understand it, in that world since then. And I was able to go back to him for another music video that's I'm escaping me right now, but the Four Fat Guys. And now I can't afford him. Now he's off the chart. So that was a bit of money and kismet, to answer your question. Many of the Gossicles music videos you'll see like live or on YouTube or something, I do. But if it looks good, chances are I didn't touch it.
Thank you. It's not what I hoped for, but it's probably.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I used Vegas and. Photoshop to do your own thing, and then if you wanted to knock it out, I would recommend Fiverr or Upwork. I've had positive experiences with both.
You know, it's funny, we were talking about things to do in downtime. Making a video is a really great thing to do in downtime. Like, you know, if you don't want to play a game or watch reruns of Doctor Who or Blake 7, just get software. And there's a whole bunch of software that's cheap or free online.
That's
Excuse me. Build a video. And a really cool thing to do is you can get software like image software like Photoshop, but there's free versions of Photoshop from different companies online, and you export PNG files that have got transparencies, and you slap them on your screen on different video tracks, and you can move them and expand them and rotate them, and you can do all sorts of really fun things. Blender is for 3D. Awesome. Yes. Yeah, so, and it's a really fun thing to do. Like, you know, if you've got like, because, you know, you find yourself death scrolling or just, you know, watching bullshit on Netflix or whatever. Try it. Put on some music. Put on your headphones. Listen to some music you like. You don't have to listen to your track. And just create something fun. And it's really good. It's really, really, really good fun. So do that. I'm trying to get into that habit. I actually have my schedule, which is on a piece of paper, which you can't see here. Look, piece of paper. Besides deadlines and all that sort of really fun things, including the date I have to have them submitted to my agitator, the date they go live, and the date it has to go to Bandcamp and press. 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. I do music. Then I go for a walk. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. is admin and other stuff. And then 4 p.m. till I go to bed is either doing my tax or working on a video. And I have to have it in front of me right there. Because you know how you go, I don't know what I'm doing right now. I have several hours to do something fun and I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, I'll just go onto YouTube 5 hours later. And you bought a piece of gear that you didn't use or need. Have a list and have these lists around you so you can't avoid them. And you know, I'll pick up on something you said before, Vince, man, there is a time to play games. There is a time to go, don't look at the list. Go somewhere else and give your brain a break. And you know, even better if you could leave your phone somewhere and go for a walk or something. Actually, just really quickly, like, you know, back to my thing about this dream of having a kit bashing weekend where we build spaceships. Part of the thing is that there's no phones. Everybody puts their phone in the box gets locked, and then nothing's going to happen. You know that emergency call you're waiting on? It won't happen. What happens if? Won't happen. Put your phone in a box. And it's just this dream I have. I was talking to my friend Steve, who does synth repair, and he's also in Ice Planet 9000, and he was saying that it's really important to let your brain be bored, because your brain's going to go through, do some shuffling, do some repairing on itself, do some downtime things. We don't let our brains get bored anymore, and we're wondering why everything's kind of going into kerfuffle, because, you know, we've never been at this point before as a species where we're not staring at the stars. When was the last time you stared at the stars? Not on a screen, just stared on the stars. When was the last time you laid on your back on the grass and looked at the clouds?
I'm looking at a star right now, babe.
Hey,
Citing the shit in your point. You're making a good point.
I was about to go into a porno, but we won't right now. But anyway, the point is that did somebody order a pizza? Yeah, this is dangerous because Carl and Brian are on the same chat, and this is going to go very wrong. The point of the matter is you've got to just get out and do something fun. Like, you know, I have this dream that one day, minus the grass. Yeah, well, that's the thing about California, is that there isn't any grass, and the dirt that you'll be lying in probably has fire ants on it, and there aren't any clouds. But in Chicago, it was my favorite fucking pastime because there weren't any ants. God, I miss Chicago sometimes. But it's just really important to do that. I mean, like, if you've got a VHS or something like that, set it up with a projector or something. Get away from the internet. It's important. I'm all about this kit bashing thing, man. Seriously, I am so about this stuff. I should do that. Something else I really want to start doing is is Destructo, Fashion Destructo. If somebody else has something important to say, just shut me the fuck up. So when I was in New York, and a little bit in Chicago, we used to do this thing called Fashion Destructo parties, where everybody would turn up to Carl's apartment, bring a piece of clothing, and you'd ruin it. You'd make it look like punk rockery. And we did that in like New York for like years. Best fun. Tuesday night, I think. And you know, I'm still close to so many of those people who just turn up, and I want to start doing that again in LA, and no phone zone, you know, and just create. Listen to music, listen to records, listen to whatever, fold t-shirts, and just create. That's all I got. Does anybody want to throw anything in? Ba-boom. Oh, Rizzy, you did. Awesome. Oh, I'm going to Australia. So I won't be here in the month of February. I will be in zero phone connectivity. I'm going to see my parents. I haven't seen them in 11 years. Jesus. And we're just going to bum around. And it's funny where they live, which is up in the mountains in Queensland. They want to make it an international sky watching area, because the sky is... You can the Milky Way stretches across the sky. You can see it. There is zero pollution, zero smog. They were going to set up a telescope there, but they didn't. Anyway, Vince, hit me.
Okay. I mean, it's not super important, probably to, you know, a lot of people, but I do have a new release out on Bandcamp right now that's officially released everywhere, December 21st. I mentioned it earlier. It's the track I did with Kimberly from Bow Ever Down. Breathe You In. I gotta mention it. I wasn't even here last week, so I don't feel like I'm being a dick saying it again.
Put it in the chat, and I'll put it on the everything. Good on you. Keep going. Keep going.
I will just put my Bandcamp link in the chat because that is already copied, and it's the first thing on there. So
excellent. Good. And remember, Vince, when that comes out, email me that track, the URL, the Spotify URL, and I'll add it to the Art of Rock playlist. And incidentally, with that Art of Rock playlist, every week I go back there, get the bottom 4 songs, move them to the top. So it's always rotating. But thank you. And that's awesome that you're making music. Cool. Oh, it's good. Brian's doing MTV TV in January. Alex, inspire me with amazingness now.
So this is not really super important to me, but it's something I've wondered. Maybe if it's too much for the time frame, it's okay. But how does one start a label in a legal sense, and maybe in a practical sense?
A label?
A label, yes. Maybe a small thing for you and your friends to put out your music and have some sense of cohesion.
Okay, this is a great idea. Brian and I run labels. The first thing we needed was a limousine. It had to have a stripper pole in it and a pool at the back. And the fluffy coat cost me the most amount of money. And the guy who walks in front of me with a camera, with a fisheye lens and a big ring light, and I'm walking around LA going, yeah, that was also very expensive for me. Brian, what about your experiences with running a label?
Wildly positive overall. Please check out Tiger Squawk Records at tigersquawkrecords.bandcamp.com. Coming
Put the
up
link, and then I'll throw it everywhere. Keep going.
200 odd releases from across the planet. I cannot. I'm guessing I can't answer your question to the level that you need it if it is in a legal sense. I very deliberately started that label to be very loosey-goosey and actively allergic to money. I think that sort of thing kills indie labels. And it's so if you're looking to set up like an LLC or something like that, I can't tell you. The only advice I would give you is that I don't know if a record label in 2022 is the right arena for that in this Bandcamp world, but I have had a lot of success running things in a very sort of off the books sense. Like things like taxes and so forth will get taken up in Bandcamp fees anyway. They have to, like CD Baby makes you do it, like give you tax information and stuff like that. So there's legal what's the word I'm looking for? Responsibility. I said responsibility. You said kerfuffle. Sure, in that sense, but it's real loosey-goosey 90s collective stuff.
Fantastic. I will answer your question seriously in a moment, but here's Vince.
I almost didn't say it because, like, I say it a lot, and it feels like they should be paying for it. But just wait for this. You can set yourself up with at least a Musician Plus account. You can do that, and also the LLC thing really shouldn't be that hard. You just got to look into how much it costs for the fees to file the paperwork for
$1,000.
And depending on where you are. And also that's not entirely necessary. Probably, I don't know. It depends on, you're in Germany, right? So like I don't know what the laws are there for that kind of thing. If you can file individual person owning the business, or if you have to have an LLC. But I know where I am, it works out okay because I can file as sole proprietor and I don't have to have an LLC right now since I'm not making a lot of money. And because I am my own label, I'm the only one on it, but I technically am a record label. So I do have to file tax paperwork, but since I don't make shit, I really I make just barely over the dollar you need to get the earned income credit. So like pretty soon I just won't have anything coming of taxes. Like right now I get refunds because I have children that are under 18, but like once they're grown, I won't I'll have nothing to do with taxes other than make sure I file it to make sure the business is up to date for the next year. But yeah, DistroKid is great if you want to set yourself up to start with. I wouldn't necessarily advise getting a lot of people involved until you know you've got a way to have steady income. A decent amount of it to be able to finance things for other artists. Because if you're the label, you've got to look at what expenses you're going to have based on what artists, even if it's only a couple of your friends, do they have individual things going on? Are you all just a band? Like, you got to think about where all the money's going for touring costs. If you're doing any live shows, even if it's not a tour, even if it's just live shows locally, Like, there's going to be costs involved with everything you do. So be prepared for what you're capable of, and maybe manage your expectations if you want to try to be your own label. Because, like, I did a lot of research before I even started myself as a label. I mean, I named the label, and I'd been doing it for like a few years before I even technically made it official. But yeah, you need to think about a lot of financial stuff when it comes to running a label. That's the biggest thing, is tax paperwork and expenses, making sure you have the money to cover everything you need to do legally.
Thank you. Ivan?
Okay, so Alex, you're in Germany, so that's not nearly as going to be not nearly as easy as it is here in the U.S. We've made starting a business into something you can trip over something and just land in one, and boom, now you've got it. The good news, though, is you're not in Norway, where their answer would just be no. Also, like, depending on where you're where you're headed as far as label, find an entertainment lawyer you can get along with, somebody that specializes in entertainment, because that's where things get can go off the rails, like the most. I'm lucky
That's one of
here
those
because
expenses I was talking about.
oh yeah. Well, it can be. I'm lucky here because, like, I know a bunch of them down in Chicago that we used to be coworkers when I was with Midway, and I need to find somebody who looks like a Muppet but is actually quite skilled at being evil. I know exactly the right guy to call, and he is perfect for the job.
Thank you. May I? Okay, firstly, there's an old joke, which is the people who lose money in any scene are promoters and label runners, people who run labels. Gonna lose lots of money. If you want to lose more money, buy a motel or an airline. Great way to just suck money away. If you're in the US and you want to start a business, my suggestion is New Jersey and Delaware. New Jersey have a really, really low tax thing going on. Delaware, I don't think you pay tax. California is great as far as the I'll get to you in a sec, Alex. California is great as far as like tax advantages for making money and then having a whole bunch of years to pay that money off, or every single thing in the whole wide world is a tax income if you're in the entertainment industry. But the fees, etc., in California are pretty rough, but there are ways around that. Each state in the United States, and I'm pretty sure in Germany and Europe, they have arts law things where artists can come together, get lawyers, and it's cheap. In California, it's called the Californian Arts Law Squad. Probably not squad. But look into that, and it's like $50, $100 a year. It's the best money you'll pay, because that's a tax deduction. Regardless of your artistic income, that's a tax deduction. Thank you, law. Okay, so Brian's record label and my record label are very similar, in that we don't charge the artist any money. They don't give us any money. It is a transparent handshake. Brian uses a term, forgive me for speaking on your behalf, Brian, called the JPEG. Called the JPEG.
Oh, yeah. I used to say, in my own weird specific instance, I used to say that, Tiger Squawk Records is just a JPEG. If you want to put something on the corner of your Bandcamp release to make it look like this came out on a label, that was literally all I was offering people at the start. And I said it as kind of grossly as that. It's going on to be pretty dope, but that is the origin of the whole JPEG thing.
So do you charge bands? Do you pay bands? Do they pay you? Is there any financial backwardsing and forwardsing between?
For this sort of warm, fuzzy, let's all collective together, I tell people right away that you do all the work and keep all the money. We have put out some like I call them battle compilations, where we're like, it's basically a split sampler with another label, Cop International and so forth. It's been awesome, and like those do generate some money. And then you try to be like a fucking person and divvy it up as equally as possible. I use CD Baby, but I hear DistroKid is great, and then you can track changes that way. It's a pain in the ass, man. I think there's label tools out there now. I haven't gone down that road, but it's a bit of a pain to sort of suss out, like, everybody gets $5.87. You know what I'm saying? There's not like these massive payouts, but that to get way back to your question, yeah, I will do small payouts just to like not hoard money that's not mine. But there's like, I generally try to avoid that because it's a time sink, and money makes people crazy.
Yes, it does. Breaks up friendships, breaks up bands. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Brian, you also said something really important. Oh, no, maybe it was you, Alex. We're talking about the 90s collective mentality.
Yeah.
That is really important. And that I believe is where record labels came from and need to get back to. Here is the problem with doing that. People don't pull their weight. And inevitably, it turns out that there is one or two people in a collective label that are pulling everybody else's weights. They get pissed off, they leave, everyone else sinks. I've been in several collectives, and it's been the same thing that happens every time. In Black Pill, Red Pill, there is no money exchanged. I don't do anything at all. I don't do Bandcamp releases, nothing where I am financially responsible to someone or somebody is financially responsible to me, because it does make people crazy. It breaks bands up. Because, when people say, oh man, I don't really care about money, I'm just doing this for the love. They don't. They want what's theirs, and they have the right to have what's theirs. What's theirs is theirs, and they should get what's theirs. And that's totally okay. Man, the perfect label / collective, and please tell me to shut up, is set up like a punk band on the road, aka Black Flag, where everybody on the bus, on the van, is a motherfucker. They've got their job and they do their job. Nobody's job is making music. Everybody's job is administration, promotion, publicity, because that's the job of a label. So here's the problem, is you're going to get a bunch of bands who, yeah, man, I just want to do my art. I want to be on a label. I want the label to do my art. That's what I want. Because, man, I'm such an artist. I just, I'm top down kind of person. I'm an ideas person. I just want to get a label so the label can basically do everything for me. You don't want to work with people like that. And labels will not work with people like that. A label will sign you if you've got a track record of working like a motherfucker, because they're not going to sign some lazy genius who's just putting out this amazing music. They don't want to fucking know about. Okay, so I don't think you're like that, because you come here and when we talk about the fucking brutality of business, you listen. Yeah, so the first thing is, a label is only strong as its weakest link. Because why do you have a label? You have a label for someone to get your music to the masses. That's it. That's it. Don't start me on pressing fucking CDs or cassettes or vinyl. That's not even on the table right now. So therefore, if your job is getting the news out there, you need people who are good at press. You need people who are really good at social media. You need people who are good with DJs. You need people who can do all of this. You know that horrible shit that for 6 hours a day I spend on admin? That boring shit where I am sending up posts and all of that crap that I don't even know if people see. This is the other thing, is that you've got to remember, it's 2 to 5 years before any business fucking picks up. So your job is to be publicizing, pushing, butter. You know how it really sucked doing it for your band? Now you're doing it for 5 bands. And by the way, that's going to start sucking when 3 or 4 of those bands aren't doing a fucking thing. That's when everything falls apart. And you have to be doing that for years before anybody is going to get any form of bada boom going on. And the problem with bada boom and hype and that sort of thing is it wears out. It's kind of like when you're in a band and it's the best thing in the world, and then 5 months later, a year later, you've had your first or third fight and you just don't give a shit anymore. You have to keep going. So my advice is, okay, to actually set up a label, the first thing you need is a cool name. You don't have to be registered. That doesn't have to register as a name or a trading as or anything like that, because it's not trading technically. You are. So you can just make some name up. You can buy a domain. You can register the business, whatever. You can do that. There is a place online where you can actually register your label so you can get ISRC numbers. I'm registered with that. I think I paid $10 and I can generate as many ISRCs. I can generate 99,000 a year. And I'm always giving them out to friends. Hey, do you want an ISRC? Here you go. You buy barcodes. They cost about $1 each. The UPC numbers. But even if you don't have an ISRC or a UPC number, Bandcamp, I think Bandcamp assigned them, DistroKid assigned them, all of these agitators assign them. I personally like having those things because I like control. Then the thing is, do it without finance. So a band isn't, you're not taking a cut of a band's income. They are connected to their Bandcamp. You have nothing to do with that shit. They are in total use of all their finances. But the thing you've got to remember is that if you are giving bands a promo push, and I see a lot of promo pushes around that are like $300 to $500, and you will get nothing for them. You'll get nothing for them. 1 or 2 people might post it on their Facebook, but that's really about it. And you just paid $300, $500 for that. Yeah, if you're offering that sort of thing, that means you need to start collecting emails and contacts and all that shit. And I've got to warn you, people hold on to that stuff like it's gold, because it is the currency of this economy. If you have DJ, and I do not give mine out. If I do not. I gave it to Brent, but that's about it. And if Brian wants to do a press push, yep, sure. But yeah, so you need to acquire these things, and the whole question is that in this ever-changing world, everybody's a DJ. Put your hand up if you're not a DJ. Yeah. I just asked the wrong group of people, didn't I? It's easy finding people who are going to play it on their Twitch stream, and, you start going to clubs and you start building that stuff up, and you just got to work, man. But the real question is going to come down to, you need a team. And if people are paying you, you are financially responsible to them. And then that is then opening up a whole bunch of taxation bullshit that in Germany, my advice is don't do it, because I have worked with the German taxation office, and you don't fuck with those motherfuckers. You can fuck with the IRS a little bit, not the German tax system, man. So no money. Okay, I see your hand. Hit me.
Yeah, that was basically my I forgot the word. That's the reason why I brought it up, because I realized while procrastinating that many scenes start with labels. And it's like, if you think about it, it might be a really good way of promoting your shit without being too spammy, because there's always something new. And if there are more people, then the social media output and the messaging can be more varied and maybe more interesting for a potential, I don't know, follower or connoisseur of your music. And also, I don't necessarily want to do it myself, but I just want to put the idea out there because I think it would be cool if there would be more independent labels. And even if it's just a JPEG label, I think it makes stuff cooler in a way.
Oh yeah. Let me know when I can talk. Rezi, I'm sorry, I'm just going to push in because I'm a bastard. JPEG labels are the future because they're collectives. The collective that began everything for me was the Northwest Industrial Coalition, which was started up by Mike. So I have a funny story about that. Then I did Primary Darkwave in Brisbane in the mid-90s. Then I did Crash Frequency across Australia in the early 2000s. And they all went the same way, which is people don't pull their weight. And I'm going to use a really classic, beautiful example of that, and that's MTV TV. And MTV TV are bending over backwards to help everyone. How often do you see bands promoting MTV TV? How often? Compared to the amount of bands that MTV TV are promoting, how often? Yes, exactly. Not very often at all. And I'm guilty of that. I try and post once a week somewhere, hey, go watch MTV TV. And I need to do it more often. Another really good example is, I'm going to say it, is the Art of Rock compilation, where I've asked everybody to pimp that. And I don't see it pimped at all for several months. And this is the problem you're going to have in a collective, is people stop. They stop because they get bored. They stop because XYZ. They just stop. Thank you, Vince, for doing your part. Yeah, they stop. And, you know, it's really funny that there's a certain type of person who is going to do a label or do a, Ken who does Sounds and Shadows. Or Brian that does Tiger Sky, they just do it. It's a thing and they do it. They have a routine and they do it. It's a type. And that type is becoming increasingly rare because at the core of these things is a desire to give, help, and grow. And that survivalism is stifling that out, but I'm getting political there. Vince, talk to me.
What I was going to say is, it kind of sounds like what we need is more, rather than a label, like everyone should kind of put themselves in the same position I'm in to the best of their ability, where you're your own label, essentially. So like you're only responsible for yourself financially, but then much like all of us do this most weekends, well, I do it as often as I can. I've been missing a lot more of them than I'd like to lately, but like this is a collective. What we do here every weekend, this is the collective promotion effort. That's why I've tried to make it a point to mention what I've got out right now, or what I'm recently doing when I'm on here, is because that's what we should all be doing here. If you're making something, this show should be part of your promotional stuff for yourself. If you're here on it, talk about what you've got going on, because then more people will hear about it because they're seeing the show. I'm not sure how many people actually watch the show, because
hardly anyone, basically us.
I haven't been playing the show while I'm on it, so I don't know how many viewers there are. But yeah, we should start there. Like this, we all should also be talking about this. I should actually be talking about this more often. I post for MTV TV twice a week most of the time, but then I forget this until it's like Friday or Saturday. And then today I posted as we started the show. I had the image already edited, but I forgot to schedule the post. So I had to do it after the show started. But
thank you.
Yeah, that whole collective thing is wonderful. But see, the thing is, you don't want to get the collective financially involved with each other, because then you end up with people that don't pull their weight. If nobody has any financial obligation, then whatever anyone puts in effort-wise is valuable, because there's no money involved. And that way, if you get people that aren't pulling their weight, they're the ones that suffer for it, because they're not getting promoted either as much, because they're not doing it for themselves. Yeah, the collective idea is definitely the way to go there. but not necessarily a collective label, a collective of artists that talk about each other on their social media for promotion and things. And you get a large enough group. Like, honestly, if all of us here, like, I believe, I was just checking right now, that face I made earlier, Carl, was not because I was like, what do you mean people don't post? It was, don't talk about it. It was, I'm not sure. I wasn't sure if I had the Spotify playlist in my link tree, because I'm constantly promoting the link in my bio, because that's where all that stuff is. And I didn't remember if I had it there, so I was checking. But yeah, I do. I'm glad I do. That's good. But yeah. Also, Linktree and things of that nature. There's several services that offer the same thing as Linktree if you don't want to use Linktree. But it's easier than paying for a website. Put all your links in one place, and that can help immensely as well. That way, you don't have to necessarily talk about a specific thing all the time. You can just promote the link that has all your links, and you're doing for everybody that way, because you put a couple other people's things in there. Like, I don't know. I'd put mine in here, but I can't remember the exact way the address is laid out. So
cool. Thank you. Did anybody else want to talk? Well, I could talk about this all day because it's very, 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 very important about promotion and the grueling boredom that it is to promote. Super boring. I'd love to talk about this, but we could not, or we could...
How does it get so boring?
It's boring because you are screaming at a wall and the wall doesn't come down. You're boring. It's boring because you are telling people to buy your stuff and they don't. It's boring because you realize you are screaming into the void and you are adding to the noise. You know that noise that everybody talks about, the digital noise? I'm part of that. You're part of that. We're all part of that. We are making it because of this inherent problem that the way you raise above the noise is by paying money. Butter. So, yeah, promoting is really boring. And something that people always say is, I don't want to spam my friends on Facebook. And you know, you need to make a decision of what is acceptable, blah, blah, blah. Where's the balance of that? But ultimately, you know, they're following you partly because it has to do with your music. So tell them about your music. Vince, then Brian.
okay. I just wanted to say real quick that, like, if anybody is willing to, I'd like to have a conversation after we're not live about this.
Let's do it. This is a good talk. Absolutely. Thank you. Brian!
That's a fascinating point. I'm always hyper paranoid. I'm bugging the shit out of my friends. What would you say? What are your specifics, if you don't mind me asking, for how much to post and where you feel the annoyance Overton window might be?
Okay, for me personally, everybody knows me as the guy in ANGELSPIT, so I'm the guy in ANGELSPIT. And here's ANGELSPIT. Everybody knows me as that. So I guess it's kind of hard for that because, like, I'm not friends with 5,000 people because I'm a nice guy and I know those people. I've probably met like 5 of them. So that's just my thing. What I do is every 3 days, I will make an announcement. I will talk about buy my fucking t-shirts, here's something coming out, whatever. Every 3 days. 3 days. I could do it every day. If it's busy, I'll do it every 2 days. And then I will go across all the different media I have. If you want me to bore you, I will tell you what those medias are now. Hold on, give me a sec. I'm pulling up those medias. And medias are... Here they come. Wow, look at all those medias. Carl's personal Twitter. ANGELSPIT'S Twitter. Ice Planet 9000's Twitter. Miss Ballistic's Twitter. ANGELSPIT Instagram. ANGELSPIT Instagram story. ANGELSPIT Facebook story. Ice Planet 9000 Instagram. Ice Planet 9000 story. Ice Planet 9000 Facebooks. And all Facebooks for everything I just mentioned. Black Pill, Red Pill, doing a push on artist Bandcamp the Artist Builder on Bandcamp, Bands in Town, I should say, which is brilliant. There's also Bandcamp every time I release something. There's Carl's personal group that no one gives a shit about. I mentioned ANGELSPIT'S Facebook, the Cyberpunk Riot Squad that people still kind of look at, Art of Rock Pimpage, putting it on ANGELSPIT'S.net, telling my Patreons, sending it to the newsletter, putting it on Reddit, so people can tell me I'm crap, because that's what Reddit's for. You suck. Thanks, Reddit. Putting it on TikTok, putting it on the Discord, putting it on ANGELSPIT'S Music Tumblr, putting it on ANGELSPIT'S Official's Tumblr, mentioning it on Sounds and Shadows, but I don't abuse that one. And I mention Ice Planet 9000's Facebook and everything for Miss Ballistic whenever they're involved. That. Every 3 days, something will go onto there. Unless, like, if it's a big news item, it'll go onto all of those things, but probably 70% of them, it's every 3 days. Even if to say, I know I'm an annoying pain in the ass, but I'm still doing stuff at least. I was looking at my Spotify plays, and they have come about because of links. I looked at where they're coming from, and they're coming from links by me annoying the shit out of people, saying, listen to this. I got all the ANGELSPIT'S tracks that are creepy. I put it in the creepy playlist. All the ones that are industrial, all the ones that are cyberpunk, all the ones that are like EBM dance. I put them all in their own playlist. So I say, if you're feeling in this mood, listen to this. Out it goes. Always, 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 always. That is promotion and publicity, and that is why I spend about 6 hours a day on that shit. So it's really, 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 really important. And like I said, man, you might get one view, one click, but that's one click. And incidentally, the marquee thing on Spotify, which is their way of pushing it to people, you're paying 50 cents a click. 50 cents a click. Jesus. 50 fucking cents a click. To have them play your Spotify track. Anyway, and they recommend that you spend $300 on that. Don't send me down that rabbit hole. Anyway, so if you can get one person to click for free, then congratulations. That's good. Also hashtags, but then that goes into a really horrible thing that I just don't want to fucking talk about right now. Vince, you're better at this than I am. Talk to me.
I don't know. I don't think I'm better at it than you are, considering I'm not. My stuff's not growing that fast. But
neither is mine. But go on.
Here's the thing. Don't be concerned with how much you're irritating your friends, because your friends are your friends because they're your friends. Whether or not they follow your music page really shouldn't matter that much. Promote yourself using, honestly, Facebook and Instagram's ad tools are amazing if you can figure out how to target the right people with it. I never pay more than 10 cents a click through those ad tools, because you set up the interests you want people following that are seeing your posts, right? And it'll get to a lot of people. It doesn't get a ton of clicks, but I'm still not paying more than 10 to 20 cents a piece for them. So it ends up being a lot cheaper than Spotify's ad tool, which, by the way, is not available to everyone.
Yeah.
You have to have a certain number of monthly plays or followers or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. I just looked into it for myself, and I don't meet the requirements. So if you can use Spotify's ad tools, it might be worth it if you could do your targeting a little differently. Possibly. But I don't know if they give you the option to change that or if they do that for you. Yeah, then it probably isn't really worth doing that then. But Facebook and Instagram let you target your ads yourself. That tends to work out better for you. But when I'm actively posting on social media, I'm posting 3 to 4 times a day, every day, consistently. And I try to at least a couple times a week get something in there about MTV TV. And at least once a week, I try to post about this show, so I'm promoting all the things that I'm involved with, not just myself. It should not be a matter of irritating people, because the more you post, the more followers you're going to gain that actually want to see your posts, so they won't get annoyed with it.
Okay.
Because that's what they want. If your friends stop following you, I mean, how many of your friends actually follow your music stuff anyway? I mean, I think I've got 800 and something Facebook followers, and only 80 of them are people even on my friends list, and most of those are not even people I actually know. So, I mean, if I lost those, I'd still have 700 followers. Like, it's not that big a deal. I don't have huge numbers anyway, so what am I going to do? And if your numbers are bigger, that's even better, because it really means it's no loss. Yeah, don't worry about annoying your friends. Post as often as you can stand, honestly, and just try to keep it varied to a certain extent in some way, so that the people that are paying attention keep paying attention.
Awesome. And post across different times. Don't just hit America. Remember, Canada, Australia, England, the UK, Europe, big markets. Hit them.
That's why I post 4 times a day.
Right.
Is that way it hits everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Alex, so here's the thing that if I was to be so bold, like, so in this collective here, if we're going to call it that, it's a collective. Let's call it that. You know, there are people who can create... maybe they're really bad at pushing content, but maybe they're really good at making cool little videos or cool little images that go for 10 seconds and it's pushing something. That's what you've got to find is what are people's strengths, and you got to play to those strengths. And it's got to be like, okay, for example, person X is going to make a really cool video. Actually, person X is going to come up with a marketing plan. We are going to push this event, this thing, this release, and this is how we're going to do it. I need a really fucking cool graphic and a really fucking cool video. Then, person Y makes those content, and person X is the dude that pushes it out, or the dudette. Because they're a loudmouth on social media. That's what you need. And each cycle, it's okay, well, we just did person X's band. Now we're going to do person Y's band. Now we're going to do person Z's band. Round and round and round it goes. And each of them is it might only be once a month that you do this big push out thing with videos and shit. But, or small videos. Because remember, man, you only need a 3-second video that's like, wow. And people will look at it. You know, that's another conversation we've had before, like, you know, how crazy or short or stupid a video can be and people will pay attention. The problem is in a collective, one person ends up doing the whole thing, and that one person might be really good at pushing it, but they're terrible at planning it, and they're awful at artwork. Or they're great at planning it, and they're terrible at artwork. You know what I mean? You just have to find those people, and those people are kind of here. So, and by the way, Black Pill, Red Pill's Facebook is there. It's open game. It's open season. I want you to post about your band there. I want it to be full of band stuff. So you're welcome to, and I should post that link here. Somebody else talk, because I'm really sick of the sound of my voice. Alex!
Yeah, maybe. I'm going through the list of stuff that I had like written down some time. But the question I also had is, are there any maybe reasons not to live stream your composing process that I maybe haven't thought of? Like, one might be that someone steals your song, but I think that's unlikely because I don't think I have like songs that people would steal. But are there any other reasons?
I actually had started live streaming onto the Discord. I should live stream onto the Twitch, but I'm just nervous about it. I like when I'm doing production and stuff, but it's kind of boring because it's Carl sitting at a computer. I could be doing my tax right now. That's what it looks like. It's not exciting at all. But if you want to listen to Carl play the same bars over and over and over again for 4 hours. And that was the funny thing about when Deadmau5 did his stuff. His shit was interesting. It was fun. But it wasn't, you know, that's not how, the way I write my music's really boring. Alex, I'm sorry, go ahead. And Rezi, I did see your hand, by the way.
The main benefit I see for myself is that I'm just paying more attention when I'm live streaming, because then I won't drift off to, I don't know, read the book I just had on the floor, or maybe watch a YouTube video, because then I have to be in the moment, because I feel like I'm being like there's like this.
It's a
I
performance.
don't know how it's called in English, but in the Freudian sense, there is like this the ego, the ego above the ego, and the I. And I feel like the ego above the ego is watching me making music and helps me not to drift off when I'm live streaming.
That is a really good point, and maybe you should try it. That's a brilliant point. Maybe we should all try that. That's great. Oh, like, I've always wanted to stream me doing vocals, but no. No way. I think, Rezi, I got a feeling you feel my pain on that one.
I do. That would be the strangest thing to do. And possibly really counterproductive because of the suppressive thoughts of the super ego and such that you're talking about. That might just stop.
Well, it's interesting. It could go two ways. It could go really well because it's a performance. And it might go... Because every time I'm in a studio with a sound engineer, it's better. Yeah. Because I'm accountable to this person.
This actually feeds into the couple of things that I've half raised my hand about. And, you know, my mind is blown and reeling listening to Carl and Vince talk about their vigorous and wide cast promotional skills, habits. And, like, this is a confession or cry for help again, in that I've settled into this only using as promotion new pieces of material that I haven't put into the final thing. That is true behind the scenes or outtakes from the video that I shot. But they are not calls to action. They are not announcements that something's going to happen, but they are all what I feel is this, like, maybe overwrought but fully formed, polished, finished thing that is also in service of saying that I did a thing, but it's another thing on its own. It's not an announcement about the thing. It's a thing. I don't know, to a fault, let's say, but I don't know, Vince and Carl, if you have any feelings about that, like this huge distance between what I've kind of settled into versus talking about what you're going to do or talking about what you did versus just doing some stuff.
All right. You need a hat that says PR bastard. And you need to put that hat on when you go into bastard PR mode. And then there's this other hat which is arty dude making music. That hat goes on when you're making music. But when you're in PR mode, you've got to remember PR is all about call to action, and all of those annoying corporate words that you just used is exactly what PR is all about. So you have to be coming up with all of that shit. And you have to go, you have to, here's a fun experience and it's free, click here. That's it. And that's why Spotify is so amazing and YouTube is so amazing, because you don't have to pay for it at my Bandcamp. It's free. Go get it. Sorry, dog's going crazy. Somebody else is going to take on while I mute my mic.
I mean, I don't really have a lot more to add to that, but I have felt the sort of like forced pain of trying to come up with a, business and PR plan and executing it step by step versus the sort of easy pleasure and joy that I slip into with just making a thing that refers to the other stuff that I did, but it's more of the piece. Like, it's more You Shriek material. It's more supporting lore about the project that is, the song that's being released.
All right. So my thoughts on all of that stuff is there is no reason for you to do this again, to do a second push of something that already exists. If someone's never heard of the song, it's new. Doesn't matter if it was released a year ago, it's new. My thought is, here's an idea for a promotional push. You write a blurb. You make sure that it's Twitterable, and then you put a whole bunch of hashtags, And then you line up every social media asset you have. Don't underestimate Twitter. You've also, if you've got a YouTube, you've also got a thing where you can push an announcement to YouTube. All of these things. Go through and do an audit on your social media. Write them down. Write down the links. And this is now a thing that you're going to copy and paste. Step 1. Step 2 is, let's say you're going to pimp stuff every 2 days. So you're going to divide them into groups, and on Monday you're going to do this group, on Tuesday you're going to do this group. The same message is going to absolutely everything with the same hashtags and everything. Every single thing you have. Do not underestimate whatever this social media asset is. Utilize it, because if you've got hashtags, people are looking, and that includes the stories and all of that stuff. Next, you are going to assign a time for each of those things. So you might hit your Facebook, your personal Facebook at 6 a.m. You might hit something else at 12. You might be hitting stuff every 3 hours. So in this 8-hour thing, you're going to be having this spread. So no matter where people are in the world, they're probably going to hit it. Make sure that, look at Spotify so it can tell you where your audience is. And that's where the core focus of your stuff is. So if you're mainly in the US, be hitting around about 12 o'clock-ish, making sure my mic is actually on, 12 o'clock-ish, 3 o'clock-ish New York time. But you are then going to push that stream out, and you are going to set up the scheduling and all that jazz so it can happen. That's what you shall do. And you are going to do that every second day or every third day to push that thing, to say, hey, everybody, go watch the video. For some reason, my YouTube sucks. I cannot push people to YouTube. I can push them anywhere else, not YouTube. People don't give a fuck about my YouTube. Which is why I don't make videos. Like, fucking why bother? Because it's fun. Anyway, so set yourself up so you're pushing all of these things constantly, and once you've done that song, you've pushed the video for it, push the Spotify link. Once you've done that, go to the next song, and then go to the, and make sure, and then the Bandcamp. So it's just this spray over 2 days or 3 days. That's how you do it. Make sure I actually find that when they're funny and offensive, people react to them better. I have to be in a certain headspace to do funny and offensive things. But, you know, not too offensive, but you know what I mean. Alex!
I think a thing you might try is to put the shorts you record anyway just on YouTube. I think that helps the algorithm of YouTube to push your stuff more out. At least that's what I've heard.
Trying. And the good thing about a short is that because it's that dimension, that's also the dimension of TikTok. And butter, and most stories. So you've got that one piece of media that then you can use across a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. And if it's between 3 and 15 seconds, I think, you can use that as a Spotify canvas. Resi.
Just as a data point, I hit the algorithm for front page on a series of promotional stories for the last song on Instagram, which resulted in tens of thousands of views, and same ones on YouTube. Similar push, same material.
How did you do that?
I was...
How?
Okay. The material was emotional based. The story was with text overs talking about where I've been and what I've been doing. I've been absent for a long time. It was the first thing I'd put out, and it talked a little bit about that. Below 30 seconds, using my face and the visuals from the video, and just kind of an honest story. And also, it was the right time that Instagram happened to be pushing stuff like that to test it on the front page or whatever their equivalent is for that kind of exposure. But this doesn't translate into, there's no conversion. There's no, I got additional followers and probably some spins on Spotify and some purchases on Bandcamp out of it. But to actually track that type of 2 orders of magnitude greater exposure into any kind of conversions, it's not the same. It doesn't translate. I didn't find it that way. and the other point I was trying to make is on YouTube, same stuff did not get nearly that much of an. It didn't end up pushing me to the sidebar and the rails or the video overlays where they put consistently reminding you that this reel exists or this story exists. So the very different results on those two things. But it goes back to this chronically organic way I've done stuff. Is these were all new material based on other material rather than with a call to action, which may be a lot of why I didn't get any particular kind of conversion out of it. But I made a thing that I liked, and I got a lot of responses from fans and new fans saying it was effective for them and they loved it. So, you know.
Cool. So
different goals, different results.
A face, sincerity, and honesty.
Yeah.
It's good that we've programmed robots to respond to sincerity and honesty.
Thank you, algorithm.
Thank you, algorithm. Thank you, Razzie. That was brilliant. Alex?
Yeah, and in terms to maybe mention stuff you've done in the past, there's this gothic band, which is like a legacy one in Germany called ASP. And what they did, at least I think for the last month or so, is to use this throwback Thursday, I think, to just talk about their old stuff like, hey, this was our first concert, or maybe this was our first release. We did it in 1998. Here you can listen to it. Maybe that's an angle to approach this.
That's actually a really good angle.
Yeah, I've had some fun with Throwback Thursday. I think that's great. Just the idea of it. It's a great excuse.
Something else I'm trying to do with a lot of Facebook posts is give them an expiry date. So they're only like up there for a week or so. So they go away. All right. This is really brilliant. Does anybody else... Twitter will still be around. Twitter ain't going nowhere. Don't you worry about that. There is way too much corporate investment in Twitter for it to disappear. And Twitter is still one of the highest yielding ways to for people to click through, to click to, and for them to spend money, I believe. And I also find that it's one of my strongest things is Twitter. Don't know why that is. Anyway, look, we could keep going on this, or we could write to MTV TV. Diana isn't around, and I'm sort of nervous she's not around. I hope she's okay.
I just heard from her.
Why did you hear from it and we
channels.
didn't?
Because I messaged her earlier, like 3 hours ago.
She's good, right?
Club night info. Yes, there's an Ex Mortis here in Boston that the Adam DJ'd.
Cool. Okay. I thought we go on over to MTV TV because it's bloody awesome, and we're gonna hang out here and talk about more bloody stuff because that's what we do on a Saturday morning. So apparently we're now attempting to raid to MTV TV because MTV TV is amazing. Here, next Saturday, Art of Rock. Follow ANGELSPIT on Twitch or wherever you were watching it. It'll be back here again. I want to thank you guys for this fucking amazingness. You're gods. And we're going to wave and say goodbye. Bye. 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 Bye.